Rape culture is...
Oh, but I was blackout drunk,
Men
so that
can't
doesn't really
get
matter.
It's just locker room talk.
She was drunk.
She just likes it
That was
rough.
just him being himself.
We were switching it up. She didn't oppose. I mean, look what she's wearing.
Did you
Are
see
you surprised?
how revealing her
Gay
dress
guys
was?
always want to have
The
sex.
way she was dressed, she clearly wanted attention.
He told me he was down before we got back to his place.
You can do it when you're
She
famous.
probably is just being
The
dramatic.
alcohol got to the both of us.
I mean, did you see what she
said
was
she would stay
wearing?
the night.
They've hooked up before.
I bet he liked it.
Well, I mean, you can't really be a tease
was
and not
just
expect
really
them to
drunk.
want
Did you see
something.
how much she had to drink?
Boys will be boys.
Rape culture is all the lies around us that makes survivors and victims feel like it was their fault, like they shouldn't be believed, and that their experiences aren't valid.
To me, rape culture is the society that we live in, not only in college, not only in our 20s, but also throughout our lives.
Normalization of sexual assault in which society has shifted the blame from the perpetrator to the victim. It's the culture of teaching people how to avoid sexual assault rather than not to commit it.
I think rape culture is the tendency for society to downplay or ignore rape accusations and the stigma that is associated with sexual assault.
Sexual assault is any form of sexual contact or behavior that occurs without the explicit consent of the victim. Sexual assault includes rape, attempted rape, forced sexual acts, and unsolicited sexual touching.
We need to establish that nothing is too small to be considered sexual assault. Just because it could be worse does not mean it doesn't matter or that it won't have a harmful impact on the victim.
It's so important to establish that sexual assault and rape culture are not okay, because right now we're far from a safe and inclusive society. Did you know that
Every 109 seconds, another person is sexually assaulted.
Sexual violence affects every type of person and is heavily targeted at marginalized groups.
So why do we value the truths of white, cisgender, heterosexual, sexually inexperienced women over other truths?
A lot of times, victims don't feel comfortable talking to law enforcement officials about their assault.
Mistrust of the police is especially strong for victims from groups that have historically been oppressed, harassed, and exploited by the law.
In some cases, police and prosecutors mock the victim or question why they want to ruin the reputation of their abuser.
There have even been cases of sexual assault committed by the police.
There needs to be reform in the legal system.
we are all to blame for continuing the idea that white women are the only people who get raped and the only people who are truly innocent and undeserving of rape?
The one thing people have to realize is victims come in all shapes, sizes, colors, genders, and sexualities. We live in a society where if you're not a white woman, you can't be a victim of rape.
You have to be the perfect victim. What even is that?
There's no such thing as the perfect victim. That's what people have to realize. When you don't fit the mold of what society sees as perfectly innocent, you don't get helped.
The police don't believe you.
You get blamed for what happened to you.
We claim to live in such a free world, such a democratic country, but the law is only working for some people. What does it say about our country that we accuse victims of lying and let rapists go free?
The criminal justice system is failing victims by blaming and re-traumatizing them.
But the criminal justice system isn't the only problem.
Victims are misunderstood by the people around them too. Rape culture is all around us.
Rape culture is that guy whistling at you from across the street.
Perfume ads where half-naked girls are objectified or victims of violence.
Telling girls not to go out too late instead of telling boys it's not okay to rape.
Thinking every no is a maybe. Thinking someone owes you sex because you bought them a drink.
Shutting down anti-rape protests. Protecting rapists and blaming victims.
Every day we hear that it's okay to rape from billboard ads, TV shows, even from each other.
Rape culture isn't just targeted at victims. It doesn't just happen in courtrooms and police offices. Rape culture is any comment that makes unwanted sexual contact seem okay.
Rape culture is one of the main causes of rape. When we tell people rape is funny, or it doesn't happen, or it's not a big deal, we give another person permission to harm someone else. If we stop rape culture, we'll be one step closer to stopping rape.
The responsibility to make sure rape and rape culture don't continue is a responsibility we all share. Because right now,
Out of every 1,000 rapists, only 6 go to jail.
We as a society need to unify and support understanding and love. We need to educate and be educated. We need to combat the idea of a perfect victim and take seriously the situations at hand.
Rape culture is the way we talk about, think about, and look at rape in this country that makes it seem like it's okay. It's the way that we joke about it, the way we talk about it in TV to make it seem as though it's something that is an everyday occurrence, and because it's just something that happens all the time, it's really not a big deal. And it's acts and sayings that help perpetuate the idea that rape just isn't that big of a deal, and if you are someone who rapes someone, it's not necessarily your fault.
I want the world to know that we're watching and listening, and we won't let anyone get away with continuing rape culture or allowing rape to happen anymore.
To perpetrators, I would tell them that they need to get their game together and realize that they made a choice to sexually assault someone and that they need to remedy that. Whether that means reflection on their own or whether that means actually making someone else feel better, that's something that they need to think about. The public, I would generally say to stop victim blaming. That needs to stop happening, and telling women and people who have been sexually assaulted that it's their faults. Media does that all the time, and that needs to stop.
The perpetrators need to know that a no is a no, and silence is a no. The way someone dresses or the way someone acts does not make them more or less vulnerable to sexual assault. This stigma needs to end.
To society, I would say that rape culture is not okay, and by ignoring this issue, we further perpetuate it. The only way to create a society that is free of sexual assault is by creating an environment that is accepting and non-judgmental, and it is our duty as human beings to work towards that goal.
We need to tell perpetrators that it's not okay under any circumstance and that they need to be held accountable for what they do. And we need to tell the public that not all victims make up their stories and not all perpetrators are perfectly good people who had one lapse in judgment. These are real problems that occur that need to be taken care of. And the world needs to know, and talking about rape and sexual assault in a joking way, using phrases like that team raped the other team, or say things that normalize rape and sexual assault, have to end if we're going to end this problem.
I think the first thing to tell victims is that no matter what, it's not your fault. The creation of excuses for the perpetrator is the root of the perpetuation of rape culture.
I think what we need to tell victims is that it's right and okay to come forward, that it's important to tell people what happened to you.
The victims need to know that they are not alone. There are people willing to listen and people willing to help. The only obstacle is finding the courage.
One thing that I would tell victims of sexual assault is that their experiences are valid, that no matter what their friends or what they sometimes might believe, that what they've gone through is a hard and horrible experience, and that they have a community on this campus. They shouldn't feel alone because there are so many people that have gone through similar things.
To victims, I would say that it is not their fault and that no matter what anyone tells them, their situation is valid.
I want victims to know that we're here for you, we love you, and we're not going to let rape culture or sexual assault continue. Things don't have to stay the way they are. This video and these voices are proof that we are all working towards change, and we won't stop till we get there.